Yeah, ladies and gentlemen. It's your boy Emillio Egbar. Once again, we back at it. Me and the homie Divine Thought for all matters. Be sure to follow us on Twitter if you haven't done so yet. Definitely connect with us. We would love to hear from you. You can connect with me on Twitter at the Emillio Egbar. Feel free to follow me at Nonstop Radio 212. Yo, Divine, what's good, homie?
Yo, what's happening, man?
Ain't nothing, man. Ain't nothing. Real quick, we wanted to, address the people out there first and foremost. We want to say thank you to each and every one of you who have listened to the last two podcast collaborations, man. The numbers is looking very, very, very lovely right now. So let's give you all a round of applause, man. We definitely appreciate that, man. And no doubt, man. So talk to the people, man. Like, what kind of feedback you been getting from the people that's been listening to us, talk our shit and all that good stuff?
I think it's been a difference because they used to hearing me in one format and they used to hearing you in like another kind of format, like a different kind of show, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So for us to come together, I feel like a lot of my loyal listeners and a lot of yours has been kind of tricky for them to understand what we actually doing, but the numbers is going up and I'm getting a lot of good feedback and I'm getting a lot of people that are like, yo, what's this about and what's that about? One thing that I got asked about was, what is a technocracy? Like, can you expand a little bit more on that? That was probably the thing that I got requested the most. So
that's what's up, man. I think the last time I checked it, I looked at it this morning. I know you got it mainly on Periscope for all of y'all out there who's looking for it. It's in different places. You can go check it out on Periscope mainly. You can go check it out on YouTube and you can go check it out on SoundCloud. But the Periscope numbers, from what I've seen, is very impressive. Like, I know the first one got over 800 and then the second one got damn near 700, man. So that's dope that people are actually listening to us come together and give our intake or our opinions on the current situations that are going on, you know what I'm saying? So again, I got to give a round of applause to all the people out there, man, because that's definitely dope. I appreciate that, man, for real.
And definitely, stay tuned because this ain't going to be the last one either. We're going to come together and we're going to do this every so often. Like, you know what I mean? It's going to be a reoccurring thing.
Oh, yeah, definitely, man. This is going to be like some, I don't know, like how you would say it in, like TV shows and stuff like that. You got a reoccurring character. I guess I'm the reoccurring character in your show right now. You know what I mean? So it is what it is, so I'm cool with that. But anyway, man, real quick for all the people out there, we're going to keep this one a little short for y'all here tonight. Cause both myself and Divine here tonight, we got some other pressing engagements that we got to attend to. No offense to all of y'all and everything like that. But, like you were saying at the beginning of this presentation here tonight, you got the people out there that's asking you about what a technocracy is. So if you care to, please elaborate on that, man.
Yeah. So, basically it'd take like 45 minutes for me to really explain in depth what a technocracy is from beginning to the end. So I'll give a short kind of description. Basically, when you have a technocracy, and there's been examples of it in the past, but they never fully got realized. Like, if you look it up, you'll see examples of it in the past, but it never really fully came to fruition. So that's been a goal of world governments for many, many, many years, is to have a technocracy. And so what that means is that the leaders of tech, so we have like Jeff Bezos, like, Bill Gates, Amazon, Apple, like, Microsoft, where the leaders in tech become the leaders in government. That's the long and short of it. They are now in charge. They're the ones that are leading the way with policies and everything else. So the ones calling the shots within the government would be the leaders that own all of these big tech corps and everything like that. And that's a dangerous place to be. You feel me? Like, that's a very dangerous place to be. So, I mean, I look at it like this. From where we're at right now and before, we had a veil of democracy.
Right.
People can disagree, agree if we were actually living in one or not. But we had a veil of a democracy that is now shifting into a technocracy. And I hate to bring up the coronavirus every goddamn time that I talk about something. And I promise you, I'm going to make other content with little or nothing to do with that in the coming weeks and everything. But I just can't look at myself in the mirror when I see some shit going on and not speak about it.
Right.
So when you have all of these different things going on with these world leaders right now, with all of the politicians, and then I see it coinciding with all of the, like, the leaders in tech and everything like that, my spidey senses start tingling, right? Like, you know what I mean? Things start making more sense to why we're experiencing all of these, like we spoke about before, contradictions in the news with everything that's happening, where, like, you know, you get one news headline one day and then it contradicts with the next one the next day about the virus, about the protests, about everything that's going on, right? So it started to make sense why that was happening. And when you have people like Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, like when you have that, and people like Dr. Fauci, friends, right? They're close friends. And to truly have a technocracy, you have to have all of these type of, like, you know, different sections of government. One. So the medical field would represent Fauci. The high tech part of it would be like the Bill Gates and such. And there's one foundation that has shaped our veil of democracy since, I mean, almost the beginning of time. It seems like it goes back so many fucking years. The Rockefeller Foundation. If people don't really know what that is, it's a group of very elite, if you want to consider them the top 1%, and then, I mean, they're even higher than that. They've shaped literally every aspect of our life that we live in now, from technology to medicine. They, quote, innovated Western medicine to what it is now, to take it from what used to be natural cures and different things into what it is now, where it's synthetic treatments that give you more poison than help you, right? Like, you know, they're responsible for that. They're responsible for a lot of the banking, most, if not all, of the banking system in the world. And funny thing, the Rockefeller Foundation, I believe it was in 2010, and I don't have the name off the top of my head, they published a journal that basically was predicting everything that's happening now. In depth, it went into it. And they spoke of it in, like, you know, it was kind of like a plan for the future, right? It was kind of a scenario that could play out. And the scenario was that we would be hit by a worldwide pandemic. And you got to remember, this is wrote years ago, that we would get hit by a worldwide pandemic, and China would get hit first. And they would recover fairly quickly. And the U.S. would have kind of a lenient way of dealing with international flights at first. And because of the fact that we had a lenient way of dealing with the international flights at first, we got hit real hard, and it was like fatal for us. And by the time we got a handle on the international flights, we were 3 or 4 steps behind the pandemic from there on forward. And I mean, it goes on and on, describing like a mirror what's happening now. And I just read that about a week ago. And of course it made sense, because the Rockefeller Foundation and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Clinton Foundation, the CDC, NIH, who all of these, including China, all of these organizations and different countries and all of that shit, they're all tied together. They have financial interests with each other. So when you have a technocracy, and I tried to explain this before, you have the very, picture a pyramid, you have the very top of the pyramid. That would represent the 1%. And we spoke about this before. That's not your favorite rapper. I don't care how famous he is or she is. Like, you know, if they're a billionaire, it's not Jay-Z. It's not Nicki. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's the true 1%. So that would be people like Bill and Melinda Gates, the Rockefeller family, like, you know, that kind of thing. You have your true top 1%, and then you have the middle, which would be the protection. And then you have the bottom, which would be the regular folks like us. Mm-hmm. The middle would be protecting the top from us. There's way more of us than there is them. So they have to have the control in the middle. The hardest part for them to realize the past however many hundreds of years would be to take the veil away from the democracy that we supposedly had, to peel those layers away and to truly have the control. It's always been about control. Mm-hmm. That's what they've been wanting from the start. Full and total control over every aspect of our life. They want future generations to just be at bended knee. That's what they want. They want everybody to be bowed down to them and need everything from them. Mm-hmm. So when you look at what's going on, the middle, the protection between the bottom and the top, that's the military. Mm-hmm. So look at what's going on now. Like, they know all of the best buttons to push. They know all of the different ways to get us emotional as people. We talked about that before in some depth. They know how to get us enraged. They know how to make us happy, right? They know how to make us indifferent and everything else. Mm-hmm. And we sometimes as people, it doesn't matter whether we're black or white, sometimes we feel as though that we're doing some things willingly. We feel like we're reacting off of something that's happening when really that thing that happened was just to get us to react. And they have psychologists on their team, high paid, like, you know, people that just study all of that shit with the mind and everything. Right. To know that if you do this one thing, that they'll probably most likely react like this. Right. And you got to see what's going on right now. There's a lot of people protesting for very just causes. There's also a lot of riots and a lot of shit going on, right? A lot of nonsense, just to be honest. We spoke on that where, like, a lot of small businesses are being, like, you know, torn down, set on fire, looted, all of that. They're losing their businesses left and right, not just because of the lockdown with the virus, but because of everything that's going on with the riots and everything else. And there's people that are hired from different organizations to just go in and start to agitate. When there's a peaceful protest, they'll just go in and agitate. Like, you've heard about the stories where there's just a pile of bricks out of nowhere.
Not only heard the stories, but also seeing videos where, you know, people will be at protests and come across the whole pallet of bricks. Like, who the fuck in their right mind? Like, how do you just go to a riot and this shit is already laid out for you? But, you know, definitely, I've seen it, heard it, and I mean, it's crazy how no matter how you look at it, man. Yeah.
So that's going on. And then they'll take one of the bricks and throw it or whatever, and then it's a lot of, like, someone sees it and then they're like, oh, that's possible? So then they do it. Mm-hmm. Right? And it's the first agitator just kind of backs away and fades to black. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it disappears like a fart in the wind, so to speak, you know what I mean? But I definitely feel you.
Right. And then they just end up causing all of this chaos. Mm-hmm. And that's happening in pretty much all the states where, like, you know, we have these agitators that are starting shit. There's small businesses being crumbled to the ground and everything. And it's one of those situations where you have to look at the bigger picture. You spoke on it before with an economic reset, like in that light, where, like, you know, the small businesses are crumbling while the corporations are the ones that are getting stronger.
Absolutely.
Yes. So when you have these situations where the small businesses are suffering to the point of going completely bankrupt and being gone, and then the corporations, while they might be getting looted and everything else too, they have insurance, and that's the thing I keep hearing. Oh, well, they have insurance. Oh, yeah, maybe, but then it takes forever for them to file the claim. They might not be able to even get the money when they do, and there's this whole process, and it's not as easy for a small business to go through that process as it is a Target or a Walmart or whatever. Like, you know what I mean?
Conglomerates at that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a 25-minute process for Walmart. Like, you know, it could be years for a small business, if they even recover.
And you know, that's one of the major things that's been pissing me off with people online. You know, people that's not directly affected by the rioting and the looting that I've been seeing in various cities around the country. See, it's easy to say the cool thing when it comes to social media and in this regards, like, oh, fuck it, burn it down. They got insurance. Okay, cool. They may got insurance, but like you just said, that insurance claim takes a long time for them to process as a small business, not as quick as, say, larger conglomerates such as the companies that you just named and everything like that. And then you also got to take into consideration, what about the fucking people that are employed by these smaller businesses? Do they have insurance too? Do you know if that business that you just burned down has a policy or a clause within their policy that covers these workers while they are unemployed? See, everybody keep it, well, if they don't got, if that business don't got insurance, well, they can just collect unemployment. It's not always that easy. Like, people, if you're not paying attention, you know that the unemployment system right now in this country is strained, almost to the point where we're hanging on by a thread. You know what I'm saying? Like, people want to get back to work because the money within the unemployment system is running out. That's why you're seeing in these stimulus packages now, they're trying to provide incentives for people to want to go back to work, because they know that if these people stay at home and continue to collect fucking unemployment, it's going to crash the system automatically. You know what I mean? Not automatically, but ultimately. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, for people to just be saying that, like, it's just that easy for people to just get up. Okay, yo, you just burned down my business. Now, this is where I was employed at. This is where I was working. This is where I was making my living. Let me go over here and go file unemployment. You got millions of people right now in this country that's on unemployment. You think it's going to be that easy for them to get their claim within a matter of days? It's not. So, like, I really have an issue when I hear people say stupid shit like that, because it's like you don't have any kind of compassion for the human aspect of this whole situation. You know what I'm saying? You looking at it as outrage and wanting to express that outrage through destruction, when at the end of the day, you're affecting people's lives. And if you don't understand that, then you're just a fucking idiot. That's just the easiest way to put it for me to just express it the way I feel about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. And the problem with it is, I think a lot of people think that they're willingly doing that. They're being manipulated. Like, you know, there's a lot of like people who are just going out there just to cause bullshit because they see a lane, right? But there's a lot of people who feel like they're doing something just by going out there and whether it's protesting, which is completely fine, or looting or whatever. They can justify looting in some other type of way, right? They can justify burning something down in some type of other way. But I feel like a lot of people feel like this is something that they've chose to do. There is absolutely zero chance that the government gives a fuck. They don't mind all of this. This is like what they've been wanting forever. They got all of the chips in place. They have all the chips in place for this shit to be going on right now. This is what they wanted. They want it to look like it was us that chose to go and do that, so then they have to react off of this, where the real mind fuck is that they poked and prodded us and fucked with our emotions, and then we reacted how they wanted us to react so they can get a desired result. Almost like a perfect storm right now with everything that's going on. Yeah, I mean, the best way to bring out the control, the best way to get the military involved and to train your police force that way would be everything that's happening now. But see, and I just want to touch on... Go ahead. What you were saying? No, I just wanted to touch on one thing. We know history repeats itself, right? Like, that's something that everybody should know. Now, there was the Great Fire of London in 1666. So what happened was there was a plague, a bubonic plague, right? That's what they call it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was wiping out a lot of the population. It was bad, right? It was bad. Even at that time, economically, like, you know, in that time, of course, currency was different, the gold standard, all of that. But it was bad economically. It was bad because people were dying left and right and all of that kind of shit. But funny enough, what happened was there was a bakery where a fire started. Let's just put quotes, started. And it burned down London. I mean, just look it up. The Great Fire of London in 1666 was in the middle of a plague. And it burned it the fuck down. And they kind of, the people that were in charge, the powers that be, they left. I mean, there was institutions, their banks, like, you know, their form of all of the shit that we have now, just their form of it then. There was places that made that economy thrive there, like big and small business and everything, and homes and, like, you know, just where people lived, and all of it burned down. People that didn't die from the plague was dying from the fire, and they just let it happen, and they relocated and rebuilt. Funny enough, the plague ended right after the fire. They got their desired result, and they were even stronger. When I say they, it's the powers that be. They were even stronger as a result of all of that. They just let it happen. They let it burn to the fucking ground. So we're in the middle of Bill and Melinda Gates trending, what, every week, saying some type of crazy shit, right? They're tied to this vaccine shit in their own way. They're friends with Fauci. By the way, every time I say that, disclaimer, I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat, I don't give a fuck about none of that shit. I just call it how it is. I don't like Trump and I don't like Fauci. So at the end of the day, you have Fauci and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Rockefeller Foundation, Clinton Foundation, China, NIH, CDC, WHO, all of these characters working together. You have, like I said before, you have Fauci on the medical side, and then you have Bill Gates and everything on the technology side. And then we have everything that's going on right now. From the frustration, pent up, being locked down forever. We was on house arrest for months. I'm going to just call that what it was. Like, we was locked down. That was house arrest for months, pent up frustration, people losing loved ones, people losing homes, people losing jobs. And then our emotions got rattled. And now look, everything that's happening. And then there's something else going on. So while there's certain businesses burning to the ground and there's certain shit happening within this world that's really helping them out, it's not helping us out. It's not helping us out at all. Said it before, say it again. If people think that all of this kind of shit goes on, like racial divides and all of this kind of thing within the top 1%, it doesn't. We have people of all races shaking each other's hands in the 1%. Like, you know, they don't play these games that we play. They force us to play these games and have these certain frustrations and shit. Yeah, you know, so when we have all of this shit going on, I mean, when you look at it, it's leading up to what they want from it. Well, I don't know if you have been experiencing this, but last night, even all the way for, I mean, maybe a month, 2 months, have you been hearing that, like, all of these fireworks and firecrackers and shit?
That's the biggest complaint, other than actual shootings, that we have right now in New York City. Like, 311 is swamped right now with the number of calls when it comes to fireworks, because it's a public nuisance. You know what I'm saying? Like, even last night going to work, and even on my way to work, I'm driving through various neighborhoods, and all I'm seeing is fireworks, hearing fireworks. Like, it's been crazy. It's not just a one area problem. This is citywide with all these fireworks and everything that's been going on. And then on top of that, you add the shootings that come behind a lot of this. And like right now, like, New York City is in a bad shape right now, man. Especially with all these liberals and fucking idiots that's running things right now, man. Like things is looking pretty bad right now here.
Let me just tell you something. Mm-hmm. That's not just there. That's all 50 states.
Oh yeah,
damn near every neighborhood. Monica Rose, my sometimes co-host on the podcast, she lived out in the boonies around Amish and shit, and she was telling me that she's hearing them there too. So what, Amish people setting them off? Like, shit don't make sense. And the whole shit to do with this is I've heard all kinds of different theories of this shit to do with the firecrackers and the fireworks and all of that type of shit, man. I don't know what I believe and what I don't believe, but I do know that it's not just regular people. Mm-hmm. All, like, it might be some people hear it and see it going on, so they like, oh, that's possible, kind of like with the riots and shit. So then they go out and they do it. It might be a little bit of copycat shit going on, but that's not the root of it. When you have all 50 states, in most neighborhoods in all 50 states, where it's happening like that, mm-hmm. And then I've heard stories of the police being called and they won't go out to investigate. And here's their excuse. It's so funny. Their excuse is they don't want to do heavy policing.
I mean, look at the climate we kind of in right now. So, like, I don't know, man. I mean, especially going on here in New York, like, you've seen, like, the situations that's been going on with policing and trying to enforce the social distancing thing. And then now everything, this whole movement with defunding the police departments, and then also this whole movement where, you know, some cities are actually disbanding their police departments. So, like, right now it's like law enforcement to me in this country right now is kind of being forced to work with both hands tied behind their back. So it's like, what do you really do? Because if you step out there and you do something that is viewed as wrong or brutality, like in the court of public opinions, then here you go facing a civil suit or even departmental disciplinary charges, and you're going to throw away your whole career, you know, because of a situation. You acting on impulse and you doing your job, you know. And some people out there, they're actually doing their job the correct way. So I don't want to sit here and say that, you know, every cop out there is fucking up, but at the same time, it's just like, yo, like, what really can they do right now at this point?
That's one way to look at it. Mm-hmm. The other way to look at it is, when have they missed an opportunity when they actually have a reason to go out there? Because right now, if we're talking about firecrackers and fireworks, that's explosives.
Yeah.
So if there's people fucking around with explosives, that's a reason. So if they go out there and they look a certain type way, doing heavy policing, as they call it, mm-hmm. then they actually have an excuse at that point. But they could just go out there and say, look at what they had, explosives. We had to do that. Right?
True. But at the end of the day, especially here in New York City, like, they have what they pass as bail reform. So, like, certain crimes that would have been punishable before are no longer punishable by arrest. You may get arrested, but you'll be out within an hour or so after they give you a DAT. And for all of y'all out there that don't live in New York City, a DAT is a desk appearance ticket. You know what I'm saying? So, like, anything, like, we read through the list of, like, offenses that are no longer, like, arrestable right now at this point. And you had just about everything below homicide that was listed as non-arrestable offenses. So let that tell you something. Like, you can go out to somebody, punch them dead in their face, split their whole shit open, you know what I'm saying, in certain cases, and that's only going to get them a date in court. You know what I'm saying? When back in the days, if you do that shit, that's assault too, you're automatically going to jail. You know what I'm saying?
Right, but that's feeding my point.
Yeah.
That's feeding my point, is that shit is just switching up. So mm-hmm. for what they used to jump at the chance to do, they're not doing now. They're not jumping at the chance to go and fuck with people who are setting off explosives, which in my mind is a little weird. And like you said, they changing laws in the big cities, which is also in my mind a little weird, because when have we gotten mercy in any type way from cops right? So it's almost like they're opening up the door for more chaos and allowing it.
I mean, practically they are. Like, statistics show that during this period of time last year, we had only 50 shootings that week in the city of New York. Now you look at the statistics for 2020, we have over 70 shootings in New York City. Like, I can't quote the number verbatim, but last year at this point in time, going to June 30th, we've had a little bit over 250 shooting incidents in the city of New York. Whereas now we have damn near 600. So let that tell you something. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that goes to my point of the technocracy, right? Mm-hmm. Like the veil that's getting pulled over our eyes, man. A lot of people feel like a lot of this shit they're doing is willful. Mm-hmm. They're being tricked into this shit, right? So as they're relaxing some laws, like, man, I can't tell you, living in the city where I'm at in the tri-state, if there was, even on the 4th of July, like, you know, that might be the one day where they don't really police that much because there's too much shit going on. Mm-hmm. But if it was any other day and you heard pop, 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 some shit and then some firework going off, I see 5, 10 fucking cop cars going down.
Oh, yeah.
Get on the ground! Get on the ground! That was like their wet dream, was to have a reason to come fuck with a bunch of motherfuckers, especially in the city. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, you know what I mean? That was like one of the things that they couldn't wait to go fucking do. Mm-hmm. And I just find it weird that right now, every single night, I have to hear this shit. And personal note, bit of a tangent here, is you are the type of person who finds enjoyment from a firecracker, and this is just me. Everybody might have their own, to each their own, but this is to me. If you find enjoyment from a firecracker, fuck you. For real, you are the living embodiment. You are the living embodiment of the argument for abortion. If you find the bang, like if you find that joyful in any type of way, there's a problem with your IQ. Mm-hmm. For real. Like, I come from the era where loud bangs wasn't fun. Like, you know what I mean? We didn't do that. So all of this bang shit, and then they do it again. And spoiler alert, you're going to light it again. Here's what's going to happen. Hey, that's what's going to happen. Sorry to ruin it for you, but that's what's going to happen the fucking next time you light it. Hey, got it. So my own personal shit aside from that, like, you know what I mean? It's, let's say one of these goes astray and lights some shit on fire. This is the kind of shit that they're banking on. In fact, I've tried to go investigate, even in the coronavirus times, fam, because, you know, I hate firecrackers. I think I told you that shit before. People who know me, they know that. Like, they know that's a trigger for me. I hate that shit. Fireworks, it's like, all right, like, you know what I mean? Colors, cool, whatever. But firecrackers, that shit is a trigger for me. I fucking hate that shit. So recently, I've tried to go investigate, and whenever in my neighborhood that is some kids doing it or whatever, I can easily find them. Mm-hmm. They're not hard to find, right? And then I go and then I do what I got to do, but I can't find these motherfuckers. That's the crazy shit. It's like they're ghosts. They're there, they're not there. Because only reason I know that is because I was trying to go put hands on these motherfuckers. I was trying to go put hands on these motherfuckers past couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. I'm going down, you know, got to be safe, put the mask on. I put the mask on, going down the street, like, okay, you know what I mean? I'm looking for these motherfuckers because I'm getting ready to put hands on them and tell them everything that I feel, like, you know what I mean, in my mind, about how they shouldn't be setting off firecrackers and shit, and to shut the fuck up. Motherfuckers is trying to sleep. Right. Stop. Like, you know what I mean? I've had to do that before, but I can't find these motherfuckers. So I call friends like, yo, can you find the people that setting off firecrackers in other cities, like miles away from me? They're like, nah, man, I tried. And it's like these people are ghosts.
I mean, with that situation, like, it's been like right out in the open. So, like, you even have video where people are having a battle with fucking Roman candles in front of cops. So, you know what I mean? Like, in our situation, it's definitely out in the open. People are definitely doing it with no kind of regard whatsoever for anybody else's safety. But
I feel like they might have heard it happening. And then that's that little copycat shit I'm talking about, where like they might have heard it happening and being like, oh yeah, that's possible. And then they went and started doing it out in the open. Because there are some copycats that I've noticed that are doing the fireworks and shit. I'll see in like daytime and shit. Yeah. But when it's like popping off at night, like, you know what I mean? And they only have to do that a few times to get the attention of the copycats to want to go do it.
Right.
And then when you have that going on, something stray might happen, boom, set some shit on fire. And then in my mind, I'm like, this is a perfect storm.
We've already had that. Go ahead. What you saying?
No, I was just saying, this is a perfect storm for the control to happen, for the technocracy to take fold, because basically, you know, Bill Gates won't shut the fuck up about the vaccine. Obviously, whatever company lands that vaccine, it's going to go through that foundation. We have everything in place right now for that technocracy to happen, a perfect storm for the military to come out, because I still hear this narrative too. Well, I can go smash shit up and take shit and do whatever I want because me and my homies got guns, and like, you know what I mean? The military ain't gonna do nothing to me. And we spoke about that. Like, you know, you're not gonna do nothing when it comes to that. Like, it don't matter how many clips you got. It don't matter how many homies you got. They gonna put you and your homies down in 0.5 seconds. It's not even gonna be a fight. You know?
I can't help but to laugh at that, because I keep saying to people, unless you got some connects to some military grade weaponry, ain't no way in hell your little iron pipeline handgun is going to do anything against no motherfucking AR-15s and all them other C4 carbines and all that shit like that. Like, man, get the fuck out of here. Like, I mean, like, you hear people say that dumb shit and you just can't help but to just laugh, you know?
I'm at my wit's end with it, because a lot of people, it's just, they don't see the forest from the trees when it comes to this shit. They feel like they're in control. They feel like they're doing all this shit willfully. So the bottom line, when it comes to what I was explaining with the technocracy, is the top, the middle, and the bottom. No matter what, we're the bottom still. Most likely, if you're listening to this, you're the bottom. You actually might be military, but before we get off here, I just want to explain something. I was talking to my homie that was in special forces, and not even all that long ago. He's frustrated with all of the fucking contradictions and everything else that's going on in the news with the virus and everything else. Like, you know, with them changing the story about how it's contracted and the symptoms, and like, you know, the tests, like, you know, one day they say the tests are inaccurate, but then that same day there's all these new confirmed cases and everything else. Right. So they're actually using the virus as control too, with everything and all of the control factors that have came in since the virus hit. It's all calculated. That's why they're confusing us day in and day out. That's why they're doing all of this. And then in the meantime, they've made us emotional in other ways, so we're not thinking about all the contradictions that they're doing. Meantime, the control factors are really setting in. And I was like, so what do you think, man? Because you were special forces, so what do you think about all of this type of shit with the control and everything that's been happening since the virus hit? And this crazy shit he told me was, so when they were being deployed, so with special forces, it's small groups, they were being tracked, whether it was with an RF chip or whether it was with a heat signature or something. They had like a control tower or like a base somewhere where there was a monitor where they were showing up. Each troop was showing up on the screen as a red dot. And they were instructed as special forces to stand 6 feet away from each other.
Wow.
The reason why they were told to stand 6 feet away from each other was so that they could separate the person from the other person and know and monitor certain things about them, like, you know, their heart rate and this and that, and if they died and if they're injured. Because if they were standing too close to each other, it would just be one big red dot. They couldn't tell what's what.
Right.
And so he was like, if anything, this social distancing shit and everything else that they're talking about obviously is bullshit, because when you go and eat at a restaurant, we spoke on it before, it just doesn't make sense. You don't have a mask when you walk in, and then they tell you to wear a mask for 10 feet until you get to the table, and then you take the mask off, and tables are a certain amount apart, but you're still breathing in the same air. It's less about the mask being something for protection and more about them being able to tell you to wear it. All of these different things that they're telling you to do, people are doing. Like I said, before they told the whole world, not just the U.S., they told the whole world to go inside, and they did it. They're finding out what they can get away with. And once they get away with it, they make a gain. They're not going to back up from that gain. We have to understand that the more that we let this shit slide, we spoke on the bubonic plague in this. Are we still dealing with that? No, it went away. Are we still dealing with the Hong Kong flu? No, that was in Woodstock. By the way, white people were fucking each other and having orgies in the middle of Woodstock. You want to know what? That was in the middle of a pandemic called the Hong Kong flu. Mm-hmm. There ain't no social distancing. There was bands on stage performing while white people were fucking each other in the audience, doing drugs, passing shit around. What happened was a lot of people died. That was unfortunate, I guess. And then it came back the next year, and it came back a little weaker, and then that's how it went. Pandemics will go away no matter what it is. Mm-hmm. Pandemics will go away. We're told every day this shit is not ever going to go away, never. And that it's just getting stronger and stronger, all of the different fucking control factors that they got on it. Pandemics will go away. They end up in a vaccine. They end up like a flu shot. You know what I mean? They end up in a vaccine, or people get a herd immunity to it. It comes back weaker the next season. And then however it works, we don't have to deal with the outcome of the pandemic forever. That's been all of history. So in any event, when we're being told that this pandemic will never go away, and then you see everything else that's been, all the contradictions, and meantime, the only thing that's not contradicting itself, the only thing that's staying the same the whole fucking time is all of the control factors that they're putting on. They're not going away. So, like my homie said that was in Special Forces, that was a good point with the whole 6 feet apart and all of that. This is deeper than just like the sickness that's SARS-2. By the way, this is SARS-2. Before we get off here, I want to make that point. When you take the test, it says SARS-2 on it. Mm-hmm. And I've also, one of the big contradictions is that recently I've heard that when you had SARS-1, if you were a survivor of SARS-1, which was years ago, that you have an immunity to this one. But yet they can't determine, and they're leaning towards no, that you don't have immunity to it if you've caught this one. So somehow you have immunity to this one if you caught SARS-1, but you probably won't, they're still looking into it, have immunity to it if you caught the actual thing this is. You know what I mean? So I'm not denying that there's SARS-2 out there. I refuse to call it COVID-19 because that's a phrase that's meant to strike fear. The word Ovid means sheep. I'm not a sheep. Emilio's not a sheep. We're not saying that on this fucking thing no more. Mm-hmm. I'm not calling it that. It's not COVID-19, man. It's a coronavirus, which has been around for fucking eons. We get handles on coronaviruses.
That is true.
Sorry to get emotional, fans. You know what I mean?
You look on the back of a Lysol can, it tells you right there, coronavirus is one of the viruses that Lysol kills. It's crazy, man. Just the way how this whole 2020, from the time the ball dropped up until now, the way this thing has just played out, man. And once again, my deepest condolences go out there for the families of those who have lost somebody to this pandemic and everything like that. And to those who have lost maybe friends, co-workers, and anybody that they consider close to them. My heart goes out to them, really, man. But, man, it's
my heart goes out to them too, man. Yeah. And Like, you know, whenever I speak on it, I have to say that I do believe that there's shit, but like we said, and I won't go into it too, but in case people didn't hear it before, there's just different things that the hospitals are being told to do that they would have never done for a person that walks in the door with flu-like symptoms. They're being told to do shit that is archaic. And I've spoke to epidemiologists and nurse practitioners and everything that are like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, you know, that I've talked to people who have gotten demoted because they refuse to do shit because they're like, no, that's just going to make them more sick. So meanwhile, we have directives coming down from the NIH and the CDC telling the hospitals to do dumb shit when people walk in with flu symptoms. It's almost like they're trying to boost the numbers of the amount of people that are coming in, like, you know, and dying from flu-like symptoms so they can call it COVID-19. Who knows? I don't know. All I'm saying is that I do know that for some reason there's been more confirmed cases in the U.S. than there was ever tests. That right there is a statistic that makes you go, Just not to mention the fact they keep saying the antibody test isn't really accurate. And then at the same time, you know, the swab test isn't available to everybody who needs it, right. Which I know personally that people tried to get it and they couldn't. And then now look, every day, all of these confirmed cases. The only way you can have a confirmed case is when you can fucking confirm it. Yeah. You can't do that talking about all that other shit. So yes, my heart goes out to everybody that has lost someone, man. And maybe if you were even told you had it, I'm sorry. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to say any of this shit to be mean-spirited or anything like that. My heart really does go out to you, but this is more of a reason for even all of you who have been affected. Maybe you've personally been affected or your family has been affected, man. This generation, I feel like gets way too much credit for being the generation that's going to change everything. That's what I keep hearing. This is the generation that's really going to take a hold, and they're not going to take any shit, and they're going to change everything. Okay, there's been some good things that this generation has done, for sure. I'm not going to say it's all been bad, but we're doing a lot more with this generation with cancel culture than we are with any real shit.
It's crazy.
Like, you know what I mean?
About to say that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they just canceled Cleveland Brown. Like, you know what I'm saying? Which I get. We're not going to go into the racial dynamics of all of that shit, but I get it. But I'm just saying, they've canceled cartoon characters, but meanwhile, we have Dr. Fauci and Trump acting like they're disagreeing with each other and playing political theater, and we have Bill Gates out there building a technocracy and everything, and they're not being canceled. They're not being held accountable. We have all of these people that need to be held accountable, but it's fucking crickets. But this generation has all this credit for their getting shit done. Yeah. For real, are you though? And I'm not saying you're not, but maybe you're not. Maybe you should look in the mirror and be like, man, maybe I should stop focusing on social media likes and canceling somebody for what they said 12 years ago in a tweet and really get out there and change the dynamics of what's going on, because we're really to the point now where we're going to have our kids, like our grandkids. Your grandkid is going to be like, they're going to be looking at like highlights of LeBron, and they're going to be like, oh, that LeBron guy, look, everybody was standing next to each other. The whole place was filled. What was that like? And then you're going to have to get in your old bag and say, whoa, you know what I mean? But we didn't have to wear a mask back then. You know what I mean?
I mean, honestly, I think realistically speaking, I don't think that this situation can go on that long. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not going to sit here and sound like an expert or try to pretend to be one, because I'm damn sure not. You know what I'm saying? I'm just as much in the dark about it as a lot of other people. I can only voice an opinion, but that opinion that I have right now is I don't really think that it could humanly possibly or scientifically possibly last for that long. I mean, we talking generations. If we want to start talking about grandkids and stuff like that, that's a long ways down the road. I don't really see that realistically happening. But then again, it's like, what is realistic anymore? Because at the end of the day, like, you think one thing, and then the next minute is something completely different. It's like everything just continues to flip-flop, you know? Yeah.
It's like, you never know. You never know, because all the quote experts, Dr. Fauci keeps saying that it's going to last forever. All of these people keep saying it's going to last forever, and we're going to have a new normal that we go on with. And I'm not trying to hear about this new normal, man. I want all of these as long as I got to worry about my elderly family contracting some shit and dying, as long as I got to worry about loved ones contracting some shit and dying and getting sick, I am coming at and I am being mad at everybody that collects the salary that they're not earning. Period. Period.
Definitely
I don't
blame
care
you for that one, man. Definitely don't blame me for that one.
Enough of the emotional, you know what I'm saying? But I think that people got the idea now of what I meant when I was saying a technocracy. This is blending the technology and the medical aspects into one.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, just there's been a lot of people like really just calling for Fauci to become part of the government and calling for people in the high parts of these tech corporations to become part of the government.
He is already a part of the government. I mean, he is, you know, head of the coronavirus task force team, you know, and that's a branch of the government within itself. But
yeah,
I don't know what they
want him to be like a decision maker, like, you know what I mean? And like a real high up decision maker.
That's the only thing about doctors, and that's the way. This is just me speaking from my personal opinion. See, a doctor can diagnose the problem and then give you a solution, suggest a solution, I should say, to help cure the situation that you're dealing with. But still, me as a person, like, if I'm in tune with my body, I'm not going to always listen to a doctor's suggestion. Like, I may know what's right for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you may try to prescribe me this, but at the same time, I feel like this is not going to be what I need. So therefore, I'm going to go seek a second opinion. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know if that really makes sense of what I'm trying to say. Is like, what I'm trying to say is I don't really look to doctors to give me an opinion or look to doctors to make a decision going forward unless I'm physically unable myself to make a decision, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it should be. That's the normal world.
Yeah.
Like, you know, but when you have doctors that are going to be merging with political leadership, when you have tech experts that are merging with all of the political leadership, it's creating a situation where we no longer have, I mean, this will be a whole nother thing and people will be like, what did you mean by this? But this is headed towards augmented reality. Mm-hmm. That's the real shit. See, I was in the music business 20 plus years, and just like at the top of every other industry and corporation, they all have the same devils, and all of the same devils know each other. Mm-hmm. And people, you know, talk about Freemasons and, like, you know, Skull and Bones and all of this secret society shit, and they feel like maybe that they run the world. That's a whole nother topic for a different day. But, you know, I will say this, there are societies and such that go and they shake hands, and I know that for sure because I've been in these rooms. I know for sure all of that kind of shit that happens, and it's pretty bad when they're going to take the option, like you were saying, to make the decision for yourself with your health. There might not be that going forward. Like, your health will be decided for you. There's been, I mean, like, you know, just independent research on if it's even healthy to wear a mask for too long. Like,
that one right there, like, I don't agree with that. Like, that whole wearing a mask thing. I can speak for that because me, it's required at my job with everything that's going on to wear a mask. You know, it's damn near mandatory. Even though they kind of relaxed some of the standards recently, but they still require you to wear a mask for the duration of your time while you're at work on that particular day or whatever the case may be. But I can also attest to the fact that me wearing a mask has not been as helpful to me as it may be psychologically branded in some people's minds to make them think that it helps them. See, me, I have, you know, like, allergies and stuff like that as it is. So, like, my nostrils and stuff like that, like, it doesn't take much for me to have a sinus infection or for something like to, you know, clog up my nostrils or whatever the case may be. Yeah. Now, I'm staying here for 8, sometimes 16, even sometimes longer than that. And you expect me to wear a mask for that long, 8 to 16 hours straight. And you not think that that's not having some kind of physical effect on my health?
Well, it does.
You're an idiot.
It does. It does. I have a niece. She has what's called an autoimmune disease. And even before all of this virus shit, she had to wear a mask when she's out in public. And like, you know, so she doesn't, because she's more at risk. But what the doctors and everybody was telling her at that point, way pre the virus, was that like you wear it too long when you're breathing. I don't know all of the scientific terms and shit, but when you breathing in and then back out and in and back out through the mask,
it's carbon dioxide that you're exhaling and re-inhaling from your own body.
It's not good for you.
It's not.
And what it does is it depresses your immune system, and then really wearing the mask for too long makes you more susceptible to germs, makes you more susceptible to getting sick just in general. And now we're told to just wear this fucking mask forever, and that's another mind fuck.
See, like, I'm not going to wear a mask forever. See, at the end of the day, like, if I'm not around nobody, like if I'm like how I am right now, I'm sitting in a room completely by myself, there's nobody around me, nobody within 6 feet of me, I am not going to wear a mask. Even if I'm out in public, if I'm not around anybody, I'm not wearing a mask. Now, if I'm going into a situation where there's a crowd of people, then yes, I'm going to abide by that guideline and I'm going to wear that mask. But the moment I walk up out of that motherfucker, you can best believe that mask is coming off my face, because I know from my own experience within these last few months wearing a mask, just how like awkward I feel wearing that shit. It's not because it's just the way it looks or whatever, but it's the way it makes me feel sitting there breathing in my own exhaust, so to speak, re-inhaling it back in my body and knowing how I feel afterwards. Like, I'm not going to continue to keep wearing that mask, man.
But wouldn't that be the mind fuck, though? Wouldn't that be just another thing?
You see, that's the thing. That's the mind fuck that a lot of people are stuck on right now. Like, I've even seen on the news here in this city where people's been getting chased out of supermarkets and shit like that because they're not wearing their masks. I mean, fucking...
it all goes back to that chaos theory that I keep talking about, where they're building the perfect recipe for that, especially if we have everybody wearing masks for long periods of time, lowering their immune system. And then what's to say, like, we don't get mass sickness from that, from just that part? Like, you know what I mean? Depressing the immune system of the population forever. Because we've collectively, for some reason, except certain people, have agreed that this goddamn pandemic is going to last forever. I can rock with the fact that they was like giving timelines on the shit. Like, you know, let's look forward to it being like, you know, we can relax on the mask and certain shit and have regular basketball games and this and that come this date or around this date or whatever. But motherfuckers ain't saying that. They're saying forever. Especially Fauci and the NIH and CDC, they keep saying forever, like, this is how we're going to have to live now. And they're just making it like, you know, and they're making masks trendy and all of that shit, like logos.
Fuck out of here.
Like, you know what I mean? Come on, man. Like, I don't know.
It's crazy because I was looking at Twitter earlier this morning and I had seen a tweet from Rex Chapman. He retweeted another person's TikTok account, and she made a video talking about how she got one of the oxidometers that you put on your finger that supposedly measures the oxygen levels in your body. And she was trying to make a point that she wore all these different masks, from a regular surgical mask to an N95 to a KN95 and to a actual respirator, and shows that the oxidometer shows that my blood oxygen level is still 99%. But dumbass, you're not moving around. Like, you only putting the mask on for a couple of seconds just to demonstrate in this fucking video. Like, get out there and do some real field tests, walk around with it for a while, do some strenuous activities that's going to require you to breathe heavy in that fucking mask, and then come back and show me the results. Don't try to hit me with the okie doke thinking that you're going to show me that you put this mask on for 3 seconds, do the oxidometer test, and then you expect me to believe that your blood oxygen level is supposed to stay at 99? Nah, fuck out of here. Like, you're breathing in all these toxins that your body is releasing. So therefore, how the fuck can you sit there and convince me that you're not being affected by the toxins and carbon dioxide? I mean, yeah, carbon dioxide that you're breathing back into your body. That's bullshit. Like, anybody that believes that, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah. And you see what they're doing. Yeah. They're making it so everybody is conforming to it. And I mean, the more people that believe that they have to conform to all of these different things and put it to you this way. Here's something that'll wake somebody up. When somebody goes in and they clean up the subway or they clean up something from the coronavirus, what do you see them wearing?
PPE.
Hazmat suit.
Exactly.
Right? Do you see them just walking? Like, you know, whenever somebody's handling infectious diseases, do you see them walking in with plain clothes and an N95? That's not what happens. They walk in with a motherfucking hazmat suit dealing with it. So for anybody to feel like they're truly protected with any of this shit, they're foolish, because they're shown with their own eyes that to truly deal with an infectious disease or any type of thing, you gotta wear a hazmat suit and do all of this other type of shit. That's what we've been taught since kids. Like, you know what I mean? You look at somebody handling something infectious, that's what they're doing. They're not walking in with a fucking N95 or a triple layer face mask with a filter or whatever the fuck.
Out
like,
and
you know what I mean?
Whole shit, suited and booted, coming in there to do what they gotta do.
Exactly. So all of this bullshit to begin with, it's just, man, it's all control. It's control.
It also goes back to people as human beings to stop allowing people to think for you. Think for yourself, get out there, do your own research, find your own information, and then determine what sounds more realistic. Like, that's the thing. See, people are so accustomed to being spoon-fed information that they gotten to the point where they're too lazy to go look for information on their own. So therefore, they're subjectable to believe anything that people throw out there. You know, like Jadakiss said, and shout out to him, you want to hide something from somebody, put it in a book. People aren't going to go look for that information. So therefore, you can hide it right there in plain sight. But a motherfucker that's so used to being spoon-fed information, you're going to be able to slip them whatever. You know what I'm saying? Because they're going to sit there and think that the information that they're being told is so factful that you can tell them a lie that could potentially jeopardize their safety, and they'll still believe it until something actually happens. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the shit I talk about.
We got to get to the point where we wake the fuck up and understand that we got to take control of the shit that's going on around us. Because if we don't do this now, we are alive during this time. Like, you know, the kids right now, they're defenseless. They're relying on us, whether they know it or not. Their future is relying on us to wake the fuck up and do shit the right way. Whether it comes to this virus, whether it comes to the protests, whether it comes to all of this other shit that's going on, like, you know what I mean? To do things the right way. Let them know, no, we're not trying to deal with this virus forever. And the more people that wouldn't be just considered Trump voters saying that, because they have that very conveniently, they've made the virus political. So, like, you know, the people that are against the virus, like, you know, the people that are against the virus are Trump voters. Like, you know, I want to have shit open back up and I don't care about it. And then the people who are like, have Stockholm syndrome to the virus and want to stay inside for fucking ever and wear a mask and cuddle up in a blanket and are really okay with hearing that it's going to last forever are the liberals. So when I look at it like that, and I think we'll end it on this, like, if we have to do anything right now, is to wake the fuck up and know that we are the ones that are going to shape this. Because if there's pushback now, and then it'll matter. It will matter. Like, you know, one thing I know about Corps, because I've dealt with them before, when there is pushback, they adjust. Even if we get them to back up a millimeter, that's progress. Like, you know, so instead of dealing with shit on impulse, how'd that Nas song go? I want to talk to the mayor, to the governor, to the motherfucking president. If you want to really do some shit, and then let them know. Let them know. Let them know we're not going to sit here and stand for all of this shit, and no, we're not going to fall for the okie dokes neither. Get rid of this fucking virus. Get rid of systemic racism. Get rid of all of this shit. You know what I mean? And then we can meet back in the middle.
Absolutely.
But until then, man, people are doing too much of nothing.
Yeah, for real. A whole bunch of keyboard warriors right now. And that's just to put it light. Man, but yo, definitely got to give you a round of applause as well for breaking down the definition of technocracy, because to me, that's a brand new term. Like, you addressed it or touched on it, you know, the second time that we collabed or whatever the case may be, and now listening to you fully explaining, like, I got a better understanding of what exactly a technocracy is, man. So definitely want to shout you out for, you know, the detailed information that you just spread out there to all the people, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and this is kind of a warning, man. I don't want it to be true. So it's one of them things, man. We're headed towards it. We're headed towards it, if not in it right now.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and augmented reality coming soon. That'll be the next teaser. Motherfuckers think iPhones and shit and all of this is, like, you know, they think all of that's like the latest shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, they think wait until the augmented reality, and that's what this is. That's what all of this is headed towards. Mm-hmm. That's what these Bill Gates and everything and all that. So that's a little teaser for some future content and everything.
So speaking of that future content and past archived content, where can they find that at?
Well, right now, every single episode is on Anchor. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to try to do Periscope as much as possible because we got some good numbers on that.
Oh, yeah,
man.
definitely.
Like, so
definitely shout out to the Periscope viewers because they definitely got the numbers popping right now, you know, more so than any other platform, not only that I've been on, but also that I've seen like a lot of other, you know, content being placed on. Like Periscope is popping right now. So, you know, I definitely want to say shout out to all the people that's been watching these collaborations on, you know, Periscope and keeping the numbers high. You know, definitely much respect to you guys.
And make sure you tune in to NGI Radio, 11:05 Eastern Standard Time every Wednesday, man. Find me on Twitter, Divine Thought TM. You'll see all the archives. You see the live links. You see all of that. And also, you can hit me up, good, bad, ugly. I love it all. For All Matters Podcast at gmail.com.
Yo, any thoughts on doing that thing we talked about as far as, like, you know, sharing some of that fan mail?
Oh, the mailbag? Yeah. I got a lot of people, man. I got a lot of people that it would be funny, but I know the psychology of people, and it would kind of like encourage people to just say fuck shit instead of like actual real feedback.
Actual feedback. Yeah, I feel you.
But what I'll do is I'm going to hit them with an okie doke and I'm going to just come out of nowhere. I'm not going to, like, you know, promo it. I'm going to just come out of nowhere with one and just share some of the shit that people say to me, because you would not believe some of the shit that people say when they hear me talking and shit, which I accept. Good, bad, and ugly. I'm a talking head. That's what I do. Mm-hmm. So whenever you put yourself out there, you got to accept what you get, good, bad, or indifferent. You got to accept that. You're not going to please every single person.
Oh, that's a fact.
I mean, shit, it is what it is, man. I appreciate it all.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I know I've definitely here lately have pissed off a couple of people with some of my posts on social media, but it's like, yo, it's the truth, man. Like, if you scared to discuss the truth, then hey, what are you then? You know what I'm saying? Would you rather sit there and cower behind a lie or stand up and face the truth? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Man. So this has definitely been another podcast collaboration between the Nonstop Radio Show and For All Matters. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at the Emillio Egbar, or definitely hit me up on Twitter at Nonstop Radio 212. Be sure to check out past and present episodes of the Nonstop Radio Show, which is available now on SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/nonstop-radio-show. You can feel free to send me MP3s, or you can send me any other inquiries to my email at letsnetworkmusically212@gmail.com. Definitely want to say shout out to my sponsors, Cho Wellness and Jazzy Pharrell's Jewelry. Definitely be on the lookout for some good content and stuff like that coming real soon. And also be on the lookout for my brand new spin-off podcast, which is called Emillio's Memoirs, which is coming real soon. I'm probably going to drop that on Anchor and SoundCloud. So definitely be on the lookout again for that. Also, make sure you tune in every Wednesday night, 11 p.m. or 11:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to check out For All Matters, airing directly after the mixtape show hosted by DJ Kawan on NGIRadio.com. You know what I mean? So we about to go ahead and get up out of here. It's your boy Emillio Egbar signing off with my man Divine Thought. He said his piece, and I'm saying peace, y'all. Be easy.